Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the Yes We Can podcast. I'm your host, Kira Anderson. Today I have a fellow widow on, Cyndi Williams. Cyndi Williams from St. Louis here. She started her own widows group, STL Crew. So I'm excited for her to share her story and share with all of you what she's done. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah,
I love it.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, any chance I can get in the community and spread the word and help people understand grief, specifically widow grief.
Yeah,
I'm in for it. Yes, I can.
Yes, that's right. Yes, we can. And that's the thing is, I say to people, I just talked to another pancreatic cancer widow this morning. Unless you're in our shoes, you cannot relate. And we love and honor all the support that people give to us in the communities and everything people have done for us and our families. And all of that is greatly appreciated. But to truly understand what it's like being a widow with children or without, but with children in particular, in our case, you just can't, there's nothing else that you can compare it to.
Right. There really isn't. Unfortunately, I'd had a lot of grief before losing my husband. So lost a couple of family members to pancreatic cancer as well. Lost family. My mom went through melanoma. Our family was touched by a lot of cancer, and there was a lot of grief around cancer.
Right.
My husband passed away from undiagnosed heart disease and died of the widowmaker heart attack overnight while I was out of town.
Oh my gosh, Cyndi.
Yeah. So it was completely out of the blue.
You know, it's so interesting. I told you I'm a part of the Never Alone Widows group here in St. Louis, which is a Christian organization. It's small. We just went to the national conference in Atlanta, and there's 550 widows there.
Wow.
It was the biggest gathering of widows ever. And most of the widows were either cancer widows or heart attack. Heart
disease is the number one killer of men and women.
I believe that.
Worldwide. My daughter has actually made it a mission of hers to kind of spread the news about CPR and heart health, and she's been an inspiration to me to get healthier. And menopause was not friendly to me.
I don't think it's friendly to anybody.
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, I want to talk more about your daughter because she's doing amazing things. Yeah. And like I said, I want to have her on my show. But let's talk about, so how long were you guys married? You have how many? Just one? I mean, are you from St. Louis?
3.
Can you just tell us who you are and kind of?
Yeah. We, Joe and I met in high school, Lafayette High School, class of 1992. He was 91. But he went from being my best friend to my husband. And we had our first son when we were 23. He was 24. And then Noah, and first sons, Nate, Noah, and Jocelyn. So we have 3 beautiful kids that have just been my heroes. The way that they've managed everything they've been through the last 13 years is just truly inspiring, each of them in their own way.
It's amazing. And it's for those of us that have young children, those of us widows that have young children, there's a lot of worry. How is this going to impact them?
Yes.
They're going to continue to grieve their father in every new stage of life.
Yes, absolutely. So as a therapist, I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a therapist in O'Fallon, Missouri. That is the thing with children who have grief or trauma, is that every time they advance to the next level of development, they have to re-grieve what they've been through. And learning that when I was finishing up my master's after my husband died just wrecked me. And I was so worried for my kids.
Yeah.
They were amazing kids already, of course. And since then, as you're raising kids that are younger, when they have these losses, you wonder, is it normal development? Is it puberty? Is it grief?
Right.
And it's very challenging as a parent who's grieving as well to know when it's grief, when it's attitude, those kinds of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you hear every widow talks about this.
Yeah.
Because you don't know. So I want to dive more into that. There's so many questions I have, but since we're on this topic, so what do you suggest for children? I mean, mine are 8, 6, and 5, for example.
Yeah.
They have counselor at school. My son is 5. He currently doesn't. I'm trying to get him in with her. But like, what should we be doing with our children?
Yeah, the kids are really different. Depending on what stage of development they're in, they may seem to be handling it well and really just internalizing a lot. So I know you have a church community, you have the school community. I had the same for my kids. They also, my daughter had dance team, and my sons had their peer groups that were so supportive. We had so many kids from 8 to high school at the funeral, just loving on my kids.
Yeah.
So we were very blessed with how much they were surrounded. But I think what I really need parents to know who are bereaved is that you feel like you're not enough. You have everything you need to parent those children. Reminding them how loved they were, reminding them about their father, making sure they know who they were and know how much they were loved. Those are huge things specifically regarding grief, but the biggest needs of any child, bereaved or not, is love, safety, and space to become the people they're becoming. Just be their cheerleader, correct when they get off course a little bit when you have to, but honestly, just letting them come into themselves with a lot of love, a lot of safety and support.
Yeah, I love that. So, okay, so where were you? You were not home. So you guys, how long were you? How long were you married? How old were your kids?
Yeah, so Joe and I had been best friends for years, and then fell in love, and then got married pretty soon after that in 1995, 96, and we had. It's just normal starting life, tough getting to know, ourselves while we're also getting to know each other. Our little brains weren't developed yet.
Nope,
at 22 years old.
I know. Between 20 and 30 is when your brains develop. So those of you that are getting very young, just know you're still developing. And so you will be growing together.
Yeah. So knowing so many widows, as I'm sure you do, the stories are all different. And sadly, not everybody has a love story.
Yeah.
Sometimes the grief is complicated by that, but ours really was. On a faith perspective, my husband was not a Christian when we met, and I loved him anyway and decided to go ahead with marriage despite all of my pastors, don't do that. He needs to have his faith and lead the family. But he was such a good human, such an incredibly good human.
Awesome.
And so he actually, in the years before he passed, met one-on-one with a good pastor friend of ours, Charlie Lofton in Little Rock. Outside of Little Rock. And the eulogy Charlie wrote for my husband was about how he had never seen an adult come to his faith so intentionally and carefully and just with such purpose. And he really pulled it apart and examined it. And by the time he passed away, particularly the last 3 years of his life, he was reading the Bible to the kids on the couch, and he was reading the Bible, for himself on the couch. And, I remember having a good laugh with him literally, I think a week or so before he passed, about the whole, if you are widowed, you get to marry your brother-in-law, or, this stuff about widows just came up like a week before he passed away. And I was like, well, don't you dare. Like,
I know. It's like,
and, we had no idea.
Right.
And so when he passed, it was a few days before a good friend of mine and I had talked about going to Little Rock for her birthday to see her cousin and to see the pastor friend of mine. And
were you guys from Little Rock originally?
No, the pastor I had met up here. Okay. And then he moved down there to a different church.
Okay.
So I was hoping to go to his church and surprise him on Sunday. Yeah. And we got there. She called me and said, "Are we still doing this?" So it was kind of almost last minute. I had forgotten. We talked about it. I was in the car with Joe and I was like, "Is it okay if I go do girls weekend, Thelma and Louise, Right. He's like, "Yeah, go do it. Have fun." So literally 2 days before I decided to go. And that Friday we had testing for my son all day long at Children's. And everything came out wonderful. We were kind of expecting some maybe news that might be a little nerve-wracking.
Was he sick?
Not sick. He had like a developmental thing that just like structurally, just orthopedic kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So we were real worried he might have to have surgery at 16. And so it was kind of a nerve-wracking day, but the three of us had spent the day together and, laughed and joked. And when I got home, he kissed me goodbye and helped me get my bags in the car, and off we went. Got a call at 8 a.m. the next day from my son saying that Dad won't wake up. And it was so shocking. Like, nothing prepares you for a call like that. To look at him, you would think that he was healthier than me. Just very active, very healthy, totally out of the blue. Did not know about a family history.
Did he have a family history?
A little bit. Nothing that would have been alarming. I'm really thankful that he had gone for a physical 2 weeks before, and slightly elevated cholesterol, slightly elevated blood pressure, but no alarms. So there wasn't something that he was experiencing and just not telling me.
Right.
I was lucky enough to have that assurance that he was as surprised as we were. So I was with my friend, and I did that whole guttural scream kind of a thing and fell to the floor and grabbed the carpet. I remember grabbing the carpet in my hands and just screaming. After telling my son.
Did you know? Were you like...
My son, I didn't know, but I knew because my son had done hospice visits with me before, and we had lost so many people that my son was not new to grief. And I know my son is so mature. He was a little man at 5 years old.
Yeah.
So at 16, he was very responsible, of course. And so for him to call and have a call like that with me, I knew he was sure, so I was sure. So I had to tell my son at 16 years old, I can't do this for you. I had to get off the phone with him and tell him, you need to call 911 because we're going to need to talk to you because you're standing there looking at him and I can't help. I'm going to call your brother in the other room. He had sent his brother and sister in the other room, and I called them and told them to go to the neighbor's house. Our neighbors were wonderful, wonderful. We just ran into them a couple weeks ago after not seeing them in like 10 years.
Yeah. And how old were the younger two at that point?
8 and 12. 8, 12, and 16.
So 16. Okay, okay.
Yeah. So my son handled it. I mean, as best as anybody could. Yeah. And we got in the car and just
sped home.
And I remember it just being torture, being so far away from them. Ugh. And all I wanted to do was wrap them in my arms.
How long was that drive?
6.5 hours.
Oh my gosh. Probably the longest 6.5 hours of your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And taking phone calls from the medical examiner and police officers. And whenever anybody passes away, young, healthy, unattended is what they call it, without someone having witnessed the actual passing, it's automatically handled as a crime scene. So there was literal crime scene around my house. There were crime tape. There were neighbors staring. There was ambulance and fire trucks and police officers just...
How old was he?
He was 40. He had turned 44 months earlier.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Yeah. So we did. We kept talking to the kids on the way home. Mm-hmm. They called me and asked me to pray for them from the road. I talked to the coroner and confirmed that he had passed. And I was just on my phone the entire way. And at one point between phone calls, because all the people from church and all my friends and family were calling, at one point there was a little bit of a pause, and this peace in the middle of chaos came over me. And I remember thinking, God is not surprised. Mm-hmm.
He knew.
God knew this was going to happen.
He knew.
And it didn't make it better. I still was heading home to my kids who were grieving, but I didn't feel hopeless because God had shown me in so many other times and so many hardships throughout the years that even when I don't know what to do next, he knows what I need to do next. And he's guided me all along. It's been so incredibly supported. I always say that I've had the textbook perfect grief, if you can have any perfect grief, because it was so supported. We had an amazing church family that surrounded us at first. And my workplace had a policy where people could donate their PTO to someone who went through a tragedy. And I had 11 weeks of paid leave.
Wow.
To be there for my children.
Wow.
And recover.
Wow.
I worked for hospice, BJC Hospice at the time.
Oh
and
my gosh.
And my bereavement girls came and swarmed my house for me and my kids. And just could not have asked for more support. As you know, even in the midst of all of this crowd of love, it is the loneliest thing for a non-traditional widow looking around at all your friends who are celebrating their 20th anniversary, their 25th anniversary, their 30th anniversary. And these are people you raised your kids with and went to church with and did home Bible studies with. And and you're on the outside.
Family dinners and you're looking at, you look at everything differently.
Traditions. Your traditions are gone. It's the hardest part, I think, with you having younger kids. You'll understand this, that losing those traditions.
Yeah.
We had built beautiful traditions. Our family was very close. We had Christmas Eve, Joe would sit around the Christmas tree and read the Christmas story from the Bible, and we would let the kids open one gift. And then the next morning, we just wanted to set the mood for Christmas and remind them what it's about. Because grandparents definitely spoiled.
Yep.
As they should. Not that I'm a grandma. I have no shade on that.
I mean, my parents, they really, yeah.
So, being normal kids, they were about to get showered with a whole lot of commercial Christmas. And so we always sat down with them and talked about the Bible, talked about the Christmas story from the Bible and what this is supposed to mean. And then it was just not the same. The next year we had a friend who lost a precious son who was a year younger than my daughter. And the Christmas tree that was in his room every year, she gave to us because I had posted on Facebook saying, I just can't put up my tree.
Oh my gosh.
I can't do it. I can't look at our traditional ornaments from every year. And we had little inside jokes with some of the ornaments. And as we took them apart, we listened to Mannheim Steamroller and drink hot cocoa. And then Joe would lift Josie up to the star to put the star on the tree. And it was just beautiful. Yeah. And I just couldn't do it. And I knew my kids needed it. And my mom, things changed. Their other grandma, things changed. They were grieving. So their traditions were just ripped out from under them at 8, 12, and 16. They lost so much. We all did. But especially them. That's the hardest part, to realize that everything so wholesome and so beautiful that you've created for them is just gone. And so you're trying to create something new. And this actually inspired part of what I do with my widows group. I remember not wanting a family photo.
Oh, yeah.
We weren't a family anymore in my mind.
Right.
I'm not enough to be a family, is what I told myself. I now know that to be so untrue.
Right.
However, at the time, I didn't want family pictures. There was such an important person missing.
I know.
And it just felt so broken when I looked at it. All of our little smiling faces and sad eyes is what was in our photos for a long time.
What's interesting about pictures, we got pictures, Christmas photos the day before I took Kyle to the hospital to get diagnosed. Christmas photos. They're still in our house today. And then I had a friend donate. She took pictures of us right before he went started chemo. And so I have those all over the house. And it's like I look at those and there's just so much in those photos. So many thoughts, memories, you know. And I remember the first photo we took without him. And it's just me and the kids, and it's just empty. It's like a huge missing piece.
My husband was a photographer, so he was the photographer that would be taking those photos.
Yeah.
So it took a long time for me to step into his big shoes as family photographer, and I've come nowhere near the gift that he shared with our family through his photography. But at Christmas, we have a Christmas adoption program in the group, and we have a huge Christmas party, and we've done this since 2020, where we have Santa and we have photos with Santa because Santa's there. So it's not as glaringly obvious someone's missing.
Right.
The kids are just smiling real smiles because they've just gotten all this fun, and we have crafts and we have Christmas music playing, and everybody leaves with arms full of gifts and trinkets and joy. Honestly, just a whole bunch of families struggling at one of the hardest times of year get together and celebrate Christmas.
I love that. And I definitely want to talk more about that. So post his death, how mentally, how were you? I mean, the love of your life has just been taken away in one phone call. You have children that you're still parenting. I mean, what mentally were you, what happened? Did you go into shock mode? Like a lot of people,
I was wrecked. I was just wrecked. Yeah. I think I was going through the motions. I remember, even after, when I talk about this great community of support, the women, can I just talk a minute about the women and the female friendships? I talked about how Joe and I were both hot sleepers. So we didn't snuggle at night. We would ankle snuggle.
Yeah, there
I'd
you
put
go.
my ankle across the bed and he'd put his
Cute.
ankle on top. And so we
Yeah.
were two like, "Ugh, get off me."
Yeah.
So we foot snuggle is what we called it.
Cute.
And if my sister wasn't in my bed, one of my best friends were in my bed for 3 months, all ankle snuggling with me because I needed it, you know?
And that's a huge thing that a lot of people, if you're not a widow, that open side of the bed. I mean, still to this day, I lay there and I'm like, that was his spot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's empty.
Yeah.
So I just have a ton of pillows on my bed and I like cuddle these big pillows because it's empty.
Yeah. And the stuff that seems like morbid or weird to people who aren't widows, I never slept on my side of the bed again. I wanted to sleep where he took his last breath because that's where we had that bed was where we had love piles on Saturday mornings and watched cartoons and tickle fights and that was our family shared so much love in that bed on Saturday mornings, just all snuggled up under the covers that his side of the bed, I knew I was taking his space in the family and I needed to be strong. And so laying where he laid every night and put his head to sleep gave me that strength and that reminder every day. I'm in this role now and I need to step up because he left really big shoes to fill.
Yeah. I tried sleeping on Kyle's side because I used to sleep on that side prior to him. I tried sleeping. I just couldn't. I mean, he was sick for 17 months, either in that bed in that space or the hospital. And I just couldn't. So now I'm on my side of the bed and I got a new mattress too because I'm like, I just couldn't. And I still look over at that side and like, I mean, it's just.
And it was different when it's sudden. He went to bed so full of life.
Right.
And then just didn't wake up. And there's so much trauma. As someone who's worked in private duty home care and care management in the hospice social work, I understand the trauma that happens before the loss for families that are caring for a loved one with prolonged illness and watching them fade and grieving the loss of different parts of them along the way. And I can understand why that would be different. It would be a different experience for you.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm glad that you're able. I mean, and that's the thing. Our stories are so similar, but they are so different. Everyone's story is unique.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
one thing I want to say is in the widows group, and I'm sure even what you're doing, you hear sometimes, oh my gosh, I cannot imagine what you went through.
Right.
Yours is so much worse than mine. Or, mine is so much worse than someone else's.
Right.
I always kind of compare it like if you've ever gotten a paper cut or stubbed your toe, you know that in that half a second, you are doubled over. You cannot think straight. The pain envelops you from that tiny little injury from the tip of your toes to the tip of your head.
Right.
You cannot function in pain.
Right.
Someone else has a much worse injury. The pain is the same. The pain is exactly the same. It's all encompassing. It takes you over completely. The difference is this person might have a longer period of pain than the paper cut or the stubbed toe. But when we say I can't imagine, it's the opposite. We can't imagine. We don't want to.
Right. And
we don't want to imagine that.
And that's what I say to people. They're like, I can't imagine. I'm like, I don't want you ever to have to.
No. When we say in our group, when we talk about people not understanding, we always follow that up with, thank God they don't understand.
Thank God.
We don't want them to.
Absolutely.
We always say we're the best group of women no one wants to join.
Exactly. Exactly. So after his death, you just powered through and no. I mean, I can't even say that. From the outside looking in, a lot of people were saying you're so strong. And I know a lot of widows hear that all the time.
And it just makes us, in a lot of cases, I can't speak for everybody, but when someone would call me strong, I felt more isolated than ever because I was in so much pain.
So much inside.
I was barely able to take a shower. I did, I did all the things. I was doing it. And if that's strength, I guess I was doing it. But I was doing it mostly for my kids. I think if I could have laid in bed and pulled the covers over my head, I would have.
Yeah.
And never come out. So, yes, I powered through. But it was messy.
Yeah, it's messy. It's messy for us, for the kids, and the secondary losses that you are revealed as time passes. Yeah.
The Holmes-Rahe stress and social readjustment scale is a stress scale that you can use in therapy. And on that scale, the number one most stressful life event is loss of a spouse. And what's worse is that the threshold of, scoring on this test is, whatever number. But as you look up the secondary losses after that 100 stress points for losing your spouse, then it's change in finances, change in job, change in and all these other eating habits, sleeping habits,
everything,
health,
who you were,
yes,
as a family, as a person,
yes,
as a
all
wife.
of those, when you add them up, the outcome of the scoring gauges how at risk you are of having a major health breakdown in the next 2 years. And you're there. If you lost a spouse in those 12 months of secondary losses, you are 50% at least. I was above by twice the highest threshold, which put me at 80% more risk from all the secondary losses. And most of us as widows are. I do this test with widows, not to scare them when I'm seeing them in therapy, but to remind them how important it is. Drink your water, eat the food, take the walk, do the things.
Yes, take care of yourself.
You have to survive this.
You will survive this.
Yes.
We can survive it.
We can. And your health is just immediately at risk
100%.
from that minute. And so, it is the secondary losses and everything else that people don't recognize. And it's why with loss of a spouse, I think it's surprising for people sometimes how long it takes us to recover.
I know. Some people are like, aren't you over it? Are you ready to date? Are you? And it's like,
right.
It's just such a life altering. I mean, you just can't imagine it.
I'm in my 3rd year of super happy marriage and I'm not over it. I'm blessed to have a husband who talks about Joe with me, who says stuff like, I think Joe and I would get along. And he's right. They would.
Yeah.
They would absolutely get along. The two of them are a lot alike.
Yeah.
We don't compare.
Right.
What we compare, and I've had to explain this so much that, oh my gosh, doesn't your husband get jealous when you talk about your late husband? Why? Why would he?
Right.
I am a woman who fulfilled marriage vows.
Right. Okay, so did you ever hit a low? Did you ever hit a super anxious, depressed low, like in that second year, like most women do, most widows do?
The second year was definitely harder.
Yep.
I would say the lowest of the lows for me was during the whole process of dating, knowing that my husband would have never left me and then having other men not see my value. That was difficult. I think that was one of the hardest parts of the journey.
Yeah. How quickly after did you start dating?
Surprisingly, I had a friend that even Joe knew from a band that we go and see. And that friend reached out 3 months after Joe died and said, hey, let's get a drink. And I was like, oh, yeah, that'd be great. If my husband was still alive, I would have gone and had a drink with his friend.
Yeah.
And I had the friend over who happened to go to the band with me a lot. And I closed my laptop and I look over at him. Oh, my God, did I just make a date? She's like, no, I don't think so. We know him. That's not a date. Well, I went and I had adult conversation for the first time for 3 hours. And when he hugged me when I left, I got goosebumps. I got chills because a man hadn't hugged me like that.
Yep.
And so
that's another secondary loss.
Yes. What no one told me about was skin hunger and that need to have physical touch after having your husband there day in, day out, even to brush up against you in the hallway, to then complete silence and an empty bed, like you mentioned. Those things are happening as well. And we're not really processing them. We're not really processing much of anything. And then,
I'm in shock.
The first time I got a hug from a man, I was like, oh my gosh, God sent me a new man. It's amazing. And life is going to be okay. I'm going to survive this. Newsflash, that was not a gift from God. That was just, it was a reminder that I still have feelings.
Yeah.
So I did date a lot sooner. I didn't think I ever would. And I think if it hadn't happened that way, I probably might have never, or taken a lot longer than I did. But it just, him being a friend felt safe.
Right.
And so, and it was a very short-lived thing.
Okay.
But yes, I did. I dated a lot sooner. And so,
like within that first year, did you keep dating after that or did you take a break?
I did keep dating.
Okay. Good for you. Did you go on the apps or people recommend
apps.
people? Okay.
Yeah. Tried Christian Mingle and that, honestly, in hindsight, it's one of the things that I warn other widows about being as open as I was on the apps about being a widow. about even being Christian. The people that I dated might have been able to quote a few Bible verses, but time definitely revealed they weren't who they were pretending to be. Now, as I look back at Christian Mingle, I feel like I just gave predators a place to start with manipulation.
Yeah.
So, I even met my husband now on Match, but I became much more discerning through time, and in the hardest ways. It's the thing I would do different, if anything, is protect my heart a lot better than I did.
That's good.
I didn't know my worth then like I do now. Joe said to me all the time, I wish you could see yourself the way I do. Oh. And he would be proud to know that I do now. My current husband, when we went on our first date, he tells people now that I tried to talk him out of dating me. Because I said, look, I've got kids, my daughter, I'm a new empty nester. My daughter just went to college. I'm going to be going down there all the time. Like, I don't have time for you. Like, unless you're bringing something to the table. Oh, yeah. I don't need you. But I also know God has shown me life is better with the right partner. So I'm leaving the door open. I am not running through every door.
That conversation is absolutely the conversation I've had.
So he left that night and said, all right, challenge accepted. And he stepped up. And he has, I think, after telling him I didn't have time for him, we saw each other almost every day for the first 2 weeks. And then I was like, you've got to go home and stop coming over here.
I told you I don't have time for you.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
You can't keep coming over.
So, okay, so you're an empty nester. So how long did you guys, when did you meet him?
We met in December of 22.
Okay.
And
your husband passed?
2013.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
It was that going on that 10th year weirdly was in a lot of ways. And we had some transition in the widow group. It was one of the hardest years of my life. Starting over again, had just ended an engagement that wasn't a healthy thing for me.
You were engaged? Oh my gosh, girl. We need to talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. COVID, right? Like during COVID, we all thought the world was maybe ending. And so I think emotionally things got
off. Yeah.
Well, or got more amplified and unrealistic because we were in a bubble.
Right.
I had just started dating someone a few months before COVID, and then we were each other's safety pod.
Right.
And so it was just very intense. And as COVID started lifting and things started going back into real life, it was just clearer and clearer that there were some core differences in everything, honestly. And I don't regret anything that I went through.
Right.
Because I learned.
Of course.
I needed to learn the hard way, apparently. I've dated wonderful men.
Yeah.
And they just weren't for me.
Right. They just weren't the one.
Right. It was just a very hard thing to end that engagement.
And
then it was worse afterwards. And then I was like, I'm on my me time. I'm on my single girl time. And when David came along, he shook that all up. So.
And at one point, so you were working in hospice.
Yes.
At what point did you become a therapist then after?
So I became a therapist in 2020 when hospice changed.
Okay.
The things that I wanted to go into hospice for was the interdisciplinary team model, the just the way that we enter into people's lives at the time that is hardest for them and sometimes hardest for their loved ones. Your best friend may not want to come over and see your husband dying. As the social worker, I can walk into that horrible moment that other people may not want to and not be judgmental, not have expectations of you. Just walk in and give love and support and safety to you at a time when some of your closest supports don't.
Can't.
Yes. Not because they're bad, just can't.
You can't, right.
And so it's something I really felt was a mission. It's why I went back to school at 35 years old. I was actually 2 months away from graduating with my bachelor's when Joe passed away. Him and my mom were in the middle of planning my grad party when he passed. And so, I finished my master's somehow with a 3.98 GPA, summa cum laude, with like grief fog.
Grief fog. And that's a real thing too.
It's a real thing.
I was just thinking as you were talking, like, did you lose, are there memories you don't remember?
Yes.
Like, yeah, of course. We all have that. Yeah.
They will come back. It's 13 years now, but weird things are coming back. Just weird random things. And I'll text my kids and go, do you remember blah, blah, blah?
Yeah.
And they'll respond 3 days later.
Yeah, of course.
They're all living life. They're adults now. They're like, oh,
Well, I know my kids are like, my mom doesn't remember anything. And I'm like, it's not that I don't remember anything. It's just there's a lot of fog and, clarity that I don't have. And I used to be like, you know what I mean?
I was very type A.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to school and getting that GPA and at 35 when I hadn't opened a textbook in 20 years, So that was a lot. And I think that's why people from the outside looking in always said, oh, you're so strong. Look at all you're doing and all you're accomplishing. But when I was that close and Joe and the kids had sacrificed so much for me to be able to go back and finish my bachelor's and a master's is necessary to do the work that I wanted to do in hospice, I knew it wasn't an option. And so I did the 5-year plan. I got my bachelor's and master's in 5 years and had to work full time and go to school full time and finish practicum hours as a social worker. And luckily, grandparents were very helpful with the kids.
Amazing.
But it was a very hard decision to do I continue on this path that Joe and I sacrificed so much for, or do I stop all of it and just love on my kids? And I knew that the best way for me to love on them was to break some generational trauma. I've had the best family. I have the best parents and siblings and whatever, but education was not something I thought was accessible to me when I graduated high school. My sister did go to college. I didn't. I just went and ran the family business for a while and wasn't my passion, but it was good work and it was good money. So pursuing my dream of finishing my education as an example for my children was so important to me and Joe. And so I had to, and I'm so glad I did because now I get to go to work and do work that I love every day.
And your kids saw that. That's the thing. Children seeing their moms. I just read something recently because I have the mom guilt, of course, because I'm back at work. I'm working. And you have that mom guilt. But my kids, I hope someday will look at me and say, "Wow, my mom kept going.
Yeah,
she is strong, and she worked, and she did all this for her, but and for us, and hopefully instill that work ethic in them."
And I'm glad you said how your kids are going to look back at you now, because it's hard when they're adults and they recognize the things they should have had from us that they didn't. In the book Running on Empty, it goes over different parenting styles. And one of the parenting styles is the bereaved parent. And it talks about the emotional neglect that children of bereaved parents have.
Oh, gosh.
Yes, that's how I felt as well. But again, going back to what I said, the core needs of kids is love, safety, and space to become who they're becoming. We didn't choose to be bereaved parents.
Right.
So it's not in a shameful light in the book, but it's just reality. I had a good ugly cry when I read that. Don't get me wrong. Oh my gosh,
I can't. I'm like, I have a huge stack of books that people have given me, and I'm like, I can't even touch those yet. I'm not ready. To touch those.
Parenting doesn't stop at 18.
It doesn't. Yeah.
So my oldest is almost 30 years old, and the last year we've been doing some healing of, my God, he was 16 and he's the one that got this perfect family life.
Yes.
Up until 16.
And then found his dad.
And had trauma from that, and had trauma from me dating probably, and us having to move out of the home that was their home.
Yeah. Right.
All of those things. So you're gonna mess up. It's too much for any one person to handle, but also we're enough. We're enough because it's all we have. And at some point, parenting is an ongoing timeline. So as I've healed and been able to look back at the things that I was too broken to see that I was doing, I've been able to have those apology conversations with my kids and remind them that at every moment in this journey, I wanted the best for them, even when my choices weren't right, even when my priorities weren't right, even when my actions were off course. Every second, I believed in that moment that I was doing the best thing for them.
Right.
And I'm sorry. And they've all had to do their own healing journey. As much as we want to grieve for our children, we can't.
Right. And we can't put our grief on them. And that's why it is important for us to heal ourselves. I mean, for me, I shared a little bit about my story, and my followers and listeners know, but, the year and a half after Kyle died, I just put my nose down and, started continue to fundraise for
Yeah.
pancreatic cancer research. And I started this podcast and joined this entrepreneur club and was trying to find myself again. And then I slowed down after 2024 and it did hit me. 2025, I had severe anxiety and severe depression and did the very best I could to put a fake face on for my children. But, you know, I was not well. I was not. And by the end of 2025, I did a lot to get to a better place, like anything and everything you can do to come out of that. I did. And I came out and, 2026 is a much better year. I'm pretty much back to myself.
Well, and even that, like, it's not back to yourself.
Right. It's back to the new.
It's forward to yourself. Because you can't be that person
That's
anymore.
True. That's so true.
You never can be that wife.
Right.
That mom.
Right.
Not by choice, but that option's not open to us.
Right.
So becoming you every day.
Yeah.
I'm more me today than I ever have been in my life.
Right.
I tell my husband all the time, I'm the wife to him that I wish I could have been to Joe, you know?
And you hear that a lot.
And he's the husband to me that Joe never got to mature to be.
Right.
We were great for each other. We were so in love and so good to each other at our capacity, at our age.
Right.
But I'm not that person anymore.
Right.
You know, you had asked what happened with hospice, and I kind of got off track there, but I ended up leaving hospice because as the hospice social worker, a lot of times we're doing the some of the glue stuff. The nurses are the rock stars out there going sometimes daily to see these patients and their families.
In home?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In home or in the hospice house that BJC has, or wherever the person is, wherever home is. Yes.
Yeah, that's where Kyle was.
Oh, is that not a beautiful place?
Amazing.
I mean, I got to work there sometimes when the normal social worker was out on vacation.
Yeah.
I loved it. I was always the first to raise my hand and say, let me go spend some time in Evelyn's house.
Yeah.
It's weird to say that because it is obviously such a sad and heavy space too, but there's no more amazing group of people that does such dignity and does so right by families at the worst time.
Absolutely. There's a place for children.
Yes.
I mean, I got to sleep right next to Kyle in his bed.
Yeah.
Like literally, he passed away with me. I was like laying on his chest. And 8 of his best friends flew him from Montana and some other places. And they just slept on couches in the extra rooms. And like that place was amazing. I mean, I at some point I want to go somehow help them. But it was really, really a special place. I'm so grateful that we were able to go there.
Yeah. In hospice in the field, which is out in the homes, that it completely changed. There was so much put on our nurses. I supported 3 nurses at the time for St. Charles County, and they were all 3 so tapped out because we were not allowed to go make our home visits. The only visits I was making during hospice was to admit someone onto hospice or go after the loved one had died.
Why weren't you allowed to go?
COVID risk. So chaplains, social workers, volunteers stopped. Other social workers were at least still allowed to go in and help people get started on hospice and we were making phone calls. And I just, that was not my passion. I had a suicide risk assessment with a spouse one day sitting at his kitchen table with the nurse there with me. And I have such a huge heart for people who are feeling suicidal. And there are times in life that hopelessness feels like the only option. I kind of tell people the goal is finding hope in chaos. There's always hope. Guess what? The sun rose again. Thank you, Jesus. We're so lucky that it does every day. Not to ignore the real pain that's happening, but I was doing intervention with this man at his kitchen table as his wife was dying in the living room. And the nurse was just listening. And when we walked out the door, and my nurses were my besties, like they're so amazing. But when we left, that nurse said, Cyndi, I couldn't see your compassion. I know you have it, but with that mask, I could not see your compassion. And I went,
because you were wearing the mask.
I can't do this then. And we had just gotten a mandate that if you're found in the home without a mask, you could be fired.
Oh my God.
And I couldn't in good conscience keep doing the job
Oh, I bet that broke
in the
your
right
heart.
way. Oh,
Yeah.
it did. I still have such a heart for hospice. I still will sing the praises of BJC Hospice and any person out there doing hospice work. It is so sacred.
It's a gift.
So beautiful.
It's absolutely a calling and a gift.
Yes.
I mean, it just is.
People used to say, how do you work with dying people every day? And I would say, people don't die every day. People die maybe once or twice a week on my caseload. But every day, every person I'm visiting, you will never meet someone living life more intentionally than someone who has a terminal diagnosis and a short prognosis. No minute is taken for granted after that point. And every day that I worked with the brave people that were facing their own mortality or their loved ones facing what life is going to be without them, I was constantly reminded how lucky I am for today.
Yeah.
And so it was it was definitely my calling, and I'm so glad that I got to do it for a few years. And I had a couple of friends in the therapy space who were meeting with me and hearing my heart over the hurt of how much hospice had changed. And it's back. It's back. They're doing great. I'm not down. I'm not saying anything.
Right.
They did what they had to do in an unprecedented time of history.
Nobody knew what we were doing.
Right. So no shade whatsoever on hospice. They're amazing. But both my therapist friends were saying, why don't you private practice? Why aren't you doing that? Well, that's my retirement plan. That's what I'll do when I'm retiring, when I want to cut back on hours and I just want to have my own schedule. And they're like, do it now. So I did. At the end of 2020, I switched to private practice. And one of my first clients was that gentleman I did the suicide intervention with at his kitchen table.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
And how is he? How was he?
He's actually passed since then. He was my first private practice client to pass. And it was rough.
Suicide?
No.
Oh,
thank God. No, he did not. He lived out a very difficult grief after his wife, who was truly the love of his life.
Oh, my God.
And the level of connection you get with the client in private practice. One day he, shares something with me and says, this is something I've never shared with anyone in my life, including my wife of 40 years.
Yeah.
That just recognizing the sacredness
that
and
you get the safe space.
Right. It's a heavy responsibility, but it's one that I don't take lightly. I feel so incredibly honored to be trusted with people's most vulnerable feelings, fears, moments, memories, traumas every day.
Do you feel like it helps you heal too?
100%. There's that whole philosophy of there's really no selfless action. And that's true. I love serving others. I love in my widow's group, in my career, my friends, I love being there for them. But every single time I am, it fills up my love bucket a little bit more.
Yeah. That's amazing. So do you specialize in grief and trauma?
I do.
Okay.
And there's a way to bring in my personal experience when it's therapeutic for them to either normalize what they're going through, to validate what they're going through. I remember after Joe died, you said, a moment that you really broke down. There were lots of little micro moments that I broke down. We call them grief bursts. Sounds fun, but it wasn't.
Grief bursts. They're not fun.
So in the grocery store, an entire cart of groceries. And the thought of going up to this perky, happy little checker that was going to ask me how my day's going, I just couldn't do it. I felt so crazy in that moment. Are you kidding me? You've just finished all the groceries. There's nothing at home to eat. And I couldn't do it. I could not walk through that aisle with that grocery cart. I left it. I look back at that and feel terrible that I wasted groceries.
Well, someone put it away.
Them there. I hope
someone put it away.
So I'm sorry.
I used to work at a grocery store. Yes. Someone put them away.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Hopefully you guys know that's, usually it's a moment like that.
So many widows talk about grocery shopping. Like it's grocery shopping for.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that.
It was weirdly everything for me because I cannot express how blessed I was with my husband. I handled everything for the first probably 10 years of our marriage. The doctor's appointments, the bills, the budget, the calendar, everything, school stuff. I did it all. And the last 6 years or so, little by little, he took this off my plate because I was going back to school. Then he took this off my plate. Then he took this off the plate. Then he took this off the plate. And next thing you know, here I am after he passed. And on my way home in that 6.5 hours, I looked at my friend and said, oh my God, I hope he's been paying the life insurance. I didn't even know. I didn't even know if we had life insurance anymore. And we had a very small policy. And most of us non-traditional widows have nothing or are wildly underinsured.
Yeah, I just had a conversation.
He had, by the way, he had been paying it. So we had our little policy.
Yeah, good.
It helped make ends meet for a year and a half so we didn't have to sell our house immediately.
Right.
But
yeah, I just had a conversation with some ladies last week about, in healthy marriages with healthy husbands and healthy lives, but about getting a financial advisor. Absolutely having someone help you with that. Getting your wills, trusts, whatever, all that with your husband while you're healthy. And make sure everyone knows passcodes, sharing the passcode. I mean, all the things just in case.
Yeah.
Because you just never know.
Absolutely.
And we had done that, luckily. While the whole year Kyle was sick, we got everything situated and arranged, not knowing he was sick. It was totally a God thing. And I remember having to go to the attorney, and I'm like, we have to go again, signing papers, trying to figure out who's who. If one of us were to pass away, here, or both of us, then, they were painful conversations. They were not. We didn't love doing it, but we had to have, and thank God we did. Because had we not, I would not have known. On top of everything else, you then take on as a single parent or solo parent.
Yeah, when working in, I love that you changed it to solo because it is different.
Yeah, it is.
When we're working in hospice, part of my job was to go to the homes and make sure all that kind of stuff was in order and help connect with resources if not, and help complete those papers as needed. And our paperwork was on the kitchen table and had been for a month when he passed away. He had zero desire to talk about it.
Kyle did not want to talk about it either.
But I kept saying to him, I'm a hospice social worker. It is embarrassing that ours is not done.
We need to do it.
Honestly, we were kind of a paycheck to paycheck. Being there for our kids was over saving. If our kids wanted to do this special thing, we were going to scrape and make it happen instead of putting it away in savings. And it was what it was. And it was also, we had just gone through the recession and, the late 2010s and or early 2010s. And so, when he passed away, we hadn't finished all that. And even when we got the life insurance, I remember leaving our life insurance guy and looking at each other going, how did we get duped into doing that? We're both so healthy. What are we doing? Why do we need this? And he had recommended 3 times what we finally agreed to. But thank God, literally, that we went ahead and said, yeah, sure. Because we really normally wouldn't prioritize anything for us over something the kids needed. And even the little amount of the premiums every month that we were paying, we were like, that's another thing we could do with the kids. Something we do for the kids, it's a date night. What are we doing? And just let it ride. And then he had taken it. And that's part of why I was like, I don't even know if he's still paying this anymore.
Thank goodness he was.
Yes. Thank goodness he was.
Yeah. I advise everybody to, take that seriously. Okay. So then, so you remarried, your kids are all out of the house. You're started a private practice.
Yeah. So back then, the first widow I met after being widowed, was actually lots of widows through hospice and through my time as volunteer coordinator at the hospital and through hospice. I met several traditional widows. They came to the funeral and gave me a hug and said, I'll be there for you.
Traditional meaning older.
Yeah. Okay. More traditional space of life, got a lifetime with their loved one.
Right.
Yeah. I tried going to those groups through hospice and through funeral homes. I was working in the grief space. So I was very pro, let's go do all the grief work. And I found there was not a space for me. I went and I either found myself being jealous of the woman that got 60 years of marriage and is able to pull the covers over her head, or I felt like they felt a little resentment of me having children to motivate me to get up. It's that whole comparison thing again, where
it's natural.
My pain was my pain, their pain is their pain, and both are super valid. Both are real. It's just different. And so I really felt like I didn't have a space. I did find one widow who had lost her husband and 15-month-old son to a drunk driver in the middle of the day.
Oh my God.
She lived through the accident. Her husband and son died a year after I lost my husband. And she and I connected sometime after that.
Oh,
and it's destiny. And I were the first really young widows that each other had met. And we just kind of normalized and validated each other for a while, and then kept thinking there have to be more of us. There has to be more. And we just weren't finding them. And then here and there, our family members or friends would be like, oh, I know a young widow. Here, go talk to her.
Right.
And so the two of us were like, I know about 5 and she knows a few. Like, let's figure out, let's get together. Let's make a little meeting of some kind,
Right.
So we did. And we literally just found a space and had the meeting happen.
And when was this?
This was 2019.
Okay.
We launched a group through a community, through a national organization, Modern Widows Club. They're wonderful. International, actually. There's even international groups through them. And that got us the start. We didn't have to create the wheel. So they had a lot of training and stuff for us at the beginning. And then it kind of became, then we took it and ran with it. Like, we became one of the largest groups that organization had, one of the largest local organization, local communities of their group.
Yeah.
So we were doing things a lot different than a lot of the other groups around the country. So it got to a point where, like, we couldn't go to the other groups for advice on what to do because we were kind of an anomaly because she and I had such a big community as it was. So, and also the fundraising we were doing, and Destiny and I are not afraid to share the need of widows. We will go talk to anybody about what the need is, especially non-traditional widows who are not collecting Social Security and are less likely to have that life insurance in place and that sort of thing. Like, it's devastating. And we have children still at home. And yes, there's some children benefits, but then those fall off in huge chunks. As my children aged 2 years after my husband passed away, my oldest became 18 and we lost $1,500 of income. And then 4 years later, another $2,000. And after that, another, so it is devastating and terrifying as a solo parent trying to make ends meet. So we'll go talk to anybody about what our group does. Yeah. And we've done everything from help a widow with dental work to car repairs to a wig while she goes through cancer treatment. We try to handle the practical things, but also we are about moving forward. We always say we're not a grief support group because as a therapist and having 2 other therapists on our leadership team that co-founded this St. Louis crew with me, we aren't trying to provide therapy. This group is for us as much as it is for the ladies that come to our luncheons or our events. So it is a group of people who have all lost a spouse, group of women who have all lost a spouse and are trying to do the best they can to move forward. So like this month, we talked about trying to avoid becoming the target of a scam. And it was a rich conversation and people jumping in and learning things. And we're not talking about the grief. We're talking about life after the grief.
Yes.
So people are always afraid that they'll come in and there'll be a lot of crying. And you know what? There are sometimes. We were surprised that there are people that walk in the door days after they lost their person. And yet, for the most part, we're laughing. We're making plans outside of the meeting. What we wanted was to give widows a community of women. So and we have.
It's called STL Crew. Okay. And you guys meet where and
we meet in O'Fallon. That's kind of in flux at the moment. We are outgrowing the perfect, beautiful space that we've been using for a while. So if someone knows of a free space out there that would hold about, we'd love to have a space that would hold 75 because right now we're right at 50, which is, on Sunday, me and the other co-leaders sat on the floor around the little living room space and ate at our little living room table while everybody else had tables and seats. But we're busting at the seams a little bit.
So you guys do a lunch? Is it once a month?
Yeah, we do a lunch once a month and have a topic that we talk about.
Okay.
We didn't, like last month, Valentine's, we're not going to try to have a topic. It's a tough month. So we just spoiled them with a catered meal and lots of trinkets and stuff to go home with and did a little craft thing. And so on some of the more tender months, we try to just, like Christmas, we have a huge Christmas party. It's bigger and better every year. This past year was over 200 people between. Wow. We allow the widows to bring their family and kids to that. Most of our stuff is widow only. So we have that so they talk about us to their families, and their families are like, what's this group about? Right. So we want the families to see what we're doing. We have a big trivia night in October every year that's Halloween themed, and people dress up, and it's a blast. So, so we do a lot of things that are outside of just the meeting now, because we've been blessed with the generosity of our community, overwhelmed by it. But we have a retreat now every year. This will be our third year. We're trying to find the location right now, location that'll hold 50 people. 50? Oh my gosh. 50 people. And we do self-care, and we do a releasing ceremony. And really, it is so beautiful. It is so powerful.
And it's, how do you cut that off at 50? How do you decide who gets to go to the retreat?
So last year we had, I think, close to 40, and we're just guessing 50 this year. And so we're trying to find a venue that will hold 50, believing that there probably will be 50 this year. It just keeps growing. Yeah. People keep bringing their friends. Yeah. I love it. We've heard stories of, I was sitting at the nail salon getting my nails done, and the lady next to me was widowed, and I invited her to the group. So, it's organic. We're not out there advertising. It's just someone hears from someone who hears from someone that this widow went to St. Louis Crew and was loved on and supported. Laughed.
What does CREW stand for?
Connect, recreate, and empower widows. So we're connecting. That's our number one. The recreate or recreate, we literally, as you said, I'm going back to me. You're not able to go back to me. So all of us have this unique, not necessarily wanted demand to recreate a life for yourself, because the life you had was pulled out from under you. You get to decide what parts stay and what parts don't come into this next life.
Right.
So you're recreating a life, and this is, you're around other people who are at different stages of doing that. I'm 13 years out next week. Yeah. And so this will be airing the day after the 13th anniversary of my husband's death. So this was definitely a God timing kind of a thing. So,
yeah. And on that note, it's not a faith-based group.
It's not. However, we talk about all the things that have helped us get through it. Yeah. I am not shy about sharing the fact that without my faith, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
Right.
My relationship, I have to say, just full transparency with the church was there was definitely some church hurt. And I hear that a lot in widows communities, that there can be church hurt, because I think churches are really good at supporting more traditional widows. I think the younger widows often get lumped into single women's groups.
Yeah, 100%.
And
I just talked with our pastor about this.
Or dropped altogether. It just gets awkward. Our church was we were so involved in our church. We were a 3-time-a-week church family, because Joe was an usher, and I was working in kids ministry and the teenagers, and we had our home group, and we had church on Sunday, and we were there all the time.
Yeah.
And then it was hard for my friends who I'd raised children with and known for so many years to know how to support me. And it was uncomfortable, because, there but for the grace of God go I, as they look at me and see my grief and see my kids' grief. And just, I feel like looking at me made them thank God it wasn't them. And that's okay.
And we thank God it's not them. We thank God that they don't.
We do.
So I just looked this up, because I am talking with my church about having some sort of support group for widow and widowers of all ages. But it says 40 times in the Bible that we are supposed to take care of widow and widowers.
Yeah.
40 different times. It talks about that.
Widow and fatherless.
Yes.
And the churches are also really good with the fatherless. And when it comes to orphans, they forget about the fatherless sometimes.
Right.
That I really was sad that I knew so many incredible men at our church that were friends of my husband's, who knew my kids, who didn't, especially my boys. I can't teach my boys how to be a Christian man.
This is my current.
Men need to step up.
Yes.
Christian men need to step up when they know a widow in the community.
Please.
And especially son or daughter, honestly, because these little girls who were so adored by their Christian dad and then lose them suddenly. Yes. That's my daughter. I mean, he was her world. I don't know who loved him more, me or her, but it was a tight race. That's for sure. And not having another Christian man step in to help, little bits, you know, my stepdad and my father-in-law, of course, they were wonderful grandpas. But other male family members didn't really step up. Other community members didn't really step up.
Well, because they've all moved on with their life.
Right.
And they're like, oh, she looks fine. They're fine. They'll be okay.
Yeah.
And that's one thing about being a widow or a widower is everyone else's life continues, and yours, you're stuck in the rubble.
Yeah.
Like your reality is they can't comprehend.
Yeah. As Nora McInerney says, we're touched by something chronic.
Right.
And that's something so many people don't understand is it doesn't
go away.
Grief isn't terminal.
Right.
Grief can't kill us, but sometimes it feels like it can, as she says.
Right.
And that really resonates. And so many people don't understand it. It was people like Nora McInerney and Carolyn Moore of Modern Widows Club and other widows just at the time that I lost my husband had just started to speak up, other younger widows as widow advocates. And that, thank goodness they were around.
Yeah.
Because I at least had someone to look at and say, okay, I'm going to get through this.
And I'm not crazy that we're all going through this.
Yes.
These thoughts, these emotions, these fears, these, all of it. It's recently my son, who's 5, I was talking with his teacher. I'm like, he's around women all the time. My dad comes and is very involved in his life. Every few months he's there. And, one of his uncles, we FaceTime a bunch, but we only see them once or twice a year. It's like, there is no male figure consistently in his life. So recently I've reached out to some of Kyle's good friends and I'm like, is there any way that you can spend time with Dane? I mean, he just needs that. I cannot give it to him. I just can't. And having a good Christian man help steward, his path.
Yeah. I asked so many people and it didn't happen. It was, and I think for a while, each of my children kind of walked away from the church as well, feeling disillusioned.
Right.
Where's all the support and community that we talked about my whole life?
Right.
And they've got to navigate that themselves. All of them still love God. All of them still have faith, but just that relationship to the church is complicated a lot of times. So me and Destiny were both committed to not connecting with a church or a funeral home because churches and funeral homes are doing some things. We felt like we're not trying to compete in those arenas. And what we wanted was a space that was not one faith specific and that was not going to be triggering to walk into the same place where you laid your husband to rest. So that was very intentional. And the fact that it was women only was very intentional. I had gone to a couple of widows groups where it was men and women. And what I saw and heard a lot of was, oh yeah, we were both widowed. We met at this group and now we're married. And that was so no, thank you for me at that point. And I saw the widows sitting at the table who were in that group before I got there and hearing their story and seeing the pain in their eyes and the longing in their eyes. And I thought, I don't need that. I haven't found my person yet. I don't want to be in a group of people where someone's going to get hurt. There are a lot more connected widows than there are widowers.
Yes.
And so widowers who step into those groups have no problem repartnering and probably have options.
Plenty of options because there are more widows than widowers. And for those of you that don't know, widows are females, widowers are males. And there is a need for widowers. I think there's someone in the group that's in the group.
Yeah.
Right.
So actually just recently, a gentleman reached out to me and said he was trying to join. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. It's just for women. And he goes, I realized that when I was answering the questions, because it says widow, female only. And so he's like,
right.
Can you tell me what you did? And I said, absolutely. Let's have coffee somewhere. And me and one of the co-leaders met him for coffee and heard his story and his heart for gathering widowers.
Yes.
So his group is St. Louis, Missouri Widowers. And I actually started that group on Facebook with a prayer 4 or 5 years ago, hoping they would find each other. Amazing. I am not wired to lead widowers because I feel like
you're not a widower. You're a widow.
Right. I'd be an imposter trying to pretend to know what they're experiences.
Yeah.
So answered prayer. It is not, he wants, his vision is to have a beer watch a game with a bunch of guys going through the same thing. They're not going to maybe have topics every month like we do and
well,
do it the same way.
Men are from Mars.
Yes.
Women are from Venus
Right.
or whatever it is.
Right. Yes. So they can, I'm so
go do man things.
happy
Yeah.
that Matthew has stepped up to do this.
Awesome.
And so
Is it in O'Fallon area as well?
he's actually more on the St. Louis County side.
Mm-hmm.
So he's probably going to meet somewhere over there. So we are in St. Charles County. That's where our co-leaders all live.
Right.
So that's where we meet. We have events sometimes other places around St. Louis, and we have widows who come all the way from Illinois to our meetings and find it a meaningful use of their time.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
and as far as Festus and Barnhart, and I'm always amazed and humbled that they're getting enough out of it. They would be willing to spend 2 hours on the road
It's amazing.
to spend 2 hours with their widow sisters. So
I love that.
we have a community that is just so incredibly supportive, non-judgmental. There's very little girl drama. It's just, we all know that everyone who's there has been through one of the hardest things a human can endure. And I think there's just an innate commitment to not causing additional pain to each other. So
right. Just pure support.
and that's how it was for
Authentic
Destiny and I when we met. And then it's beautiful because at one of our very first meetings, Destiny Klimaszewski is the one that I'm talking about. Lisa Waltrip and Gina Schuster came, and they were so new in their grief. They were so longing for community when they came into our first meeting. And me and Destiny left going, those are the people that we're trying to help. We did it. Can you believe this is happening?
Amazing.
And now Lisa and Gina have aligned with us in leadership. They co-founded this nonprofit with us.
Amazing.
So we've watched them heal, and it has been so beautiful because we didn't have it. We didn't have this community. So it was messy when we were doing it.
Yeah.
We were just kind of like, girl, can't make this stuff up.
Right.
You know? And so we didn't have someone that we could look at who had done what we've done and gotten through it. We were the people were looking at, and we're like, we're figuring it out as
You're
we
the
go.
trailblazers.
Like, we don't know what we're doing.
Totally.
Don't send people to me.
Right.
All I can do is validate that this is awful.
Yeah.
So,
but here you are.
and now they're co-leading with us, and they're some of my biggest heroes and best friends. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
And how many widows do you have?
there's over 500 at the last I checked on the Facebook group.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we have at our meetings, like I said, this yesterday was 44 people at the meeting. So, and that's rotating. That's rotating numbers.
course.
There's probably 150 truly active members that may not come every month, but come to events and come here and there. And
Yeah.
some of us have repartnered. Some of us lost our spouse a month ago. So it's a beautiful mix of people who are supporting each other in this journey.
I
So
love that.
there's a book called The Science of Resilience, and it talks about how you can grow resilience. And there are lots of different ways that we can be resilient on our own. But one way to be resilient and build resilience is in community by being a mentor and being mentored. And those you can't do in a dark house by yourself.
No,
You got to get out and come to a meeting. You got to get out and come to an event. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
We hear from widows all the time that they came to the meeting 4 times and couldn't walk in the door. And then when they do, they're like, why was I afraid to do this?
Yeah.
It's what we have in common is we're a whole bunch of introverts that are getting together and loving on each other every month. So
Love it.
everybody's scared to death. They're going to be the one that doesn't fit in.
Right.
And we love everybody bringing their whole weird, perfect self to the meetings because
Broken and yes.
the meeting itself and the group itself is evolving with every woman that walks in the door and brings their light
Amazing.
to what we're doing.
Okay. So when and where are the meetings?
So if you are interested as a widow, as a female widow,
Yes.
in joining the group, go to STL Crew supporting local widows on Facebook and join, and all the events are there. Obviously, for privacy and safety reasons, we don't advertise where we meet.
Okay.
But that's in the
that
events
makes
on
sense.
the page. On the page, we screen every person, because there are a lot of predators out there that see a widowhood status on your Facebook and are, you know, everybody's been messaged by an army general or a surgeon. And so it's kind of an inside joke among widows that we are a target, and we're not vulnerable. We're strong women, but also we have to understand that there's a vulnerability there if we're not careful.
And that's a whole other layer no one else can understand.
Yes.
The defense that goes up right away, and we're protecting our children and ourselves and our lives. And because it does, we are.
Yes. Panic attacks.
Oh gosh.
I remember I've gone to the hospital twice thinking I was having a heart attack, and it was a panic attack.
Same. I remember looking at my notes, and I was having chest. I thought something was wrong with my chest, and had them x-ray my chest, like something is wrong.
And the fear of our parents only have us. And a lot of times, we're the only parent, but we're still not the favorite because dad's not here being the bad guy ever. So it's always us. And so that fear of everything we're carrying, whether we're carrying it beautifully, whether we're carrying it clumsily,
right.
If something happens to us, our kids don't have a parent.
They don't have a backup.
The weight of being the only parent is just crushing. And it's not something that you can understand in any other area of life.
And that's why we like to refer to widows and widowers as solo parents, not single parents.
Solo parents, yes.
Solo.
Yes. And if you are interested in learning more on how to support the group, or if you have a venue that might work for our meetings going forward as we grow, there's a page called Friends of St. Louis Crew on Facebook. So that's where we post photos of our ladies on Mother's Day when we all get to do our make and take bouquets. We get a whole bunch of stems every year, and each woman makes a beautiful bouquet and takes it home.
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest things I missed, was having flowers in the house. After my husband, every time he went to the grocery store, he'd bring home flowers for me and my daughter. And we missed those flowers, and we talked about it, and we were like, oh, if only we had flowers. And then one day we were like, we can buy flowers.
We could just buy flowers. I could buy myself flowers. That song, right?
Absolutely. It's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
It feels sad to buy your own flowers. And then it's like, no, I still deserve beauty in my kitchen.
Yes.
And so we do that for the ladies, because not everybody's there yet where they've gone and bought their own flowers.
Right.
So we really try to, on the hardest times of the year, bring some joy. That's what we're about, is trying to find joy.
It's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story.
Thank you.
And starting this organization.
Yeah, I did do it alone,
lives.
But I just had a crazy idea. Others were like, let's do it. We can do it. Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
The whole idea behind this show. Yes. So that's why when you and I connected on Facebook, I'm like, I absolutely want you to come on and share the good news that we don't have to do this alone.
Right.
There are options.
Yeah.
And maybe inspire other people in other parts of, the country who, there are a lot of widows, like at the Never Alone Widows Conference, who don't have local groups. And I'm like, start one. Just start one.
Right.
It's going to grow. God's behind it. If you feel at all called to do it, if you want that community, start one.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Just awkwardly find a space where some people can get together, put it out in the world, and you will be surprised how many people are waiting for someone to step up and do it.
Yep. It's one of those build it and they will come. Amazing.
Yeah. Thank you for what you're doing.
Oh, yeah. Again, I feel called to do it. And I love having a platform where people can share what they've gone through so that we don't all feel alone, because it's really therapeutic.
Absolutely.
And we aren't alone. We are doing this together. Okay. So Cyndi, I always ask everybody to address the audience with one takeaway. If you could put one takeaway for those people listening.
Yeah. I think the biggest takeaway is, I tell the widows group a lot that as much as we hate being called widows at first, I've never heard a single widow go, oh yeah, I'm a widow. It was hard to hear and identify with that word, but we are women of committed. We finished and we carried out our marriage vows. Like, there's something so strong and beautiful in that. And you have so much to offer the world. You have so much strength, and we didn't ask to be strong, and we didn't know how strong we were until it was our only choice. But just know that you have such incredible worth, and you are so worthy, and you are enough, and you are beautiful. And just, I hope that you can see yourself the way that I see you, in the same way that my husband said that to me.
Beautiful. Now, one last question. Are you accepting new patients in your practice?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm pretty full at any given time, but it's an ever-changing landscape. So,
Okay.
one person will graduate and
Yeah.
there'll be space for another. It's pretty much any time within a couple of weeks, I would be able to see someone.
Okay. You see kids or adults or both?
I see teens and up.
Okay.
Older teens and up is my area, but we
Okay.
have therapists in the office that do see kids, and
Okay.
we have another couple of wonderful women in my office that I would recommend, and I have others. Reach out to me and I will help you find the right therapy fit for
Awesome.
you. I'm with Family Life Counseling in O'Fallon, but there are some great people out there doing this work.
Awesome.
So if I don't have an opening, I will get you with someone that'll take good care of you.
Amazing. And do you guys take insurance or no?
We do.
Okay.
United Healthcare, Medicare.
Amazing.
Older adults are kind of my specialty. Older adults, grief, life transitions, anxiety, depression,
Right.
all of trauma. But there are a lot of us out there, a lot of really great therapists. So I'm happy to help connect you with someone if I don't have an opening. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I look forward to continuing this relationship
Me
and
too.
seeing.
What's God going to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, y'all. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Yes We Can podcast. Hopefully you guys have a good week, and we'll be back next Tuesday.
Loose, relaxed, and ready. Deep hydrotherapy right in your backyard. Relax with your family or friends, or work out with our Michael Phelps Edition Swim Spas. Worried about maintenance? We have factory-trained service nearby whenever you need it. Plus, we're here for you long-term if you have any questions or need to refill supplies. You can even test spas at our showrooms. Spas and More, A+ rated, locally owned for 20 years. We put the in spa.